Hello and welcome to Midlands Business Update, Big Centre TV's weekly show which looks at the local business headlines and meets members of the local business community. Tonight we'll be finding out why the West Midlands is a hotbed for the caravan holiday home industry and looking at whether you're making the most of the internet when it comes to marketing your business. First though, we reported last week that 10 leading businesses had given their financial backing to the Midlands' first state-of-the-art youth facilities called The Way in Wolverhampton. And I'm delighted to say that Davey, the General Manager of the project, joins us now. Thank you for joining us. Tell us, this sounds like a really exciting project. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, we're part of the Onside Network, a national charity that's setting up 20 youth zones by 2020. Onside charity look for the site, work with the local authority and raise the capital funding for each youth zone. And then a local charity is established, which is the Wolverhampton Youth Zone. And we work to raise the revenue funding. And we're an unusual model because we work with 50% funding from the business community.
So how much have you got to raise for the whole project then, and how much are you looking for from the businesses?
We work off a £1 million budget each year because we invest very heavily in our staff provision to make sure that the 250 young people that come into our youth zone every evening have a really high quality experience. So we're raising around about 500,000 from our business community, and I'm delighted to say our first 10 founder patrons have signed up.
And has that been hard going to find them, or have you found, what sort of reception have you had from local businesses?
No, we've had an amazing reception in Wolverhampton. I think considering this is the first youth zone to come to the Midlands, we've had an amazing response really. So those first 10 have come on board. We're looking now for about another 15 or so to come on board and join them.
And so over what sort of timescale are you looking to recruit them from then?
We're due to open our doors in the middle of January next year, which seems to be creeping up.
That'll come round quickly, that will.
At a pace. So we're 9 months away now, and we're hoping to have our founder patrons in place sort of in the summer of this year. So that we can have a really good run in operationally to getting the doors open, getting our 50 staff recruited and trained, and getting our 100 volunteers that we work with on board.
So two things really then. Tell us about what the centre will actually offer.
Oh, it's incredible. You know, everything you thought about, you knew about youth zones sort of from your youth, forget. We're not some shed sort of behind the church hall. We really are an iconic building coming to Wolverhampton. We'll have state-of-the-art facilities, a fully equipped boxing gym, plenty of sports facilities, a climbing wall with lights that will change colour outside it, a forecourt sports hall, a performing arts studio, dance areas, an enterprise and employability zone, a teaching kitchen for cookery. So, you know, a full recording music studio, really facilities that are second to none. And then we'll have the whole range of youth club activities in there, you know, from sort of cooking activities to sports activities, table tennis, pool. You'll be able to get a hot meal for £1. And all of that, there'll be 20 activities on every evening for 50p.
That's some difference to the youth clubs I remember when I was growing up that were in the local Cub and Scout hut. Things have definitely moved on quite a lot. I know we've got an artist's impression of what the centre will look like to give viewers an idea. What about the business side of it then? What do businesses get for signing on as a patron?
Well, they get a range of benefits and crediting and so on and so forth. And every business that we work with, we offer a bespoke partnership plan. So, for example, I think Marston's going to be heavily involved on the employee side, really engaging their employees, using the youth zone for team building activities and encouraging their employees to put something back into the local community. John Goff Builders, I think, will be very heavily involved, helping us secure other patrons and really making sure that our young people are employment ready. So all of our founder patrons will be absolutely keen to make sure that our employability programmes are working really well. And if you imagine being a young person now in Wolverhampton, you could be phoning 25 or 30 people trying to get your first work placement and, you know, just not getting anywhere. Well, our founder patrons will be part of changing that and making sure that the young people of Wolverhampton, our future of our city, will be really looked after. And make sure that they're ready for employment.
So that's actually giving the founder patrons a competitive advantage at the same time, isn't it? What about if other companies then want to get involved, having heard this, what should they do?
Yeah, have a Google for a youth zone in Wolverhampton, look up the way, and our contact details are on there. Get in touch with us or get in touch with me. I'm based at the Molyneux at the moment, so everyone knows where that is in Wolverhampton. You know, just drop a card into the Molyneux and I'll get in touch with you.
Excellent. Thank you for coming to talk to us. Good luck with the projects, and I'm sure we'll talk to you a bit later in the year when it's all starting to come together.
Great,
Thanks
thanks very much.
Now then, most of us are using the internet on a daily basis to promote our businesses. The question is, are we making the most of it? With us is internet marketing consultant Andrew Thompson from WSI in Birmingham. Andrew, thanks for joining us. You're the perfect man to answer this question, aren't you?
Okay.
How much do businesses know about marketing in the internet, and do they think they know more than they actually do?
Well, actually, businesses over the last 5 or so years have done quite a lot of training on the internet marketing. These technologies have come in fairly recently. And a couple of years ago, everybody was going out for Facebook training, for Twitter training, and for LinkedIn training. They do have an understanding of how it works. Where the challenge is how to commercialize it and get benefit for the business.
Because it used to be, didn't it, in the early days, companies suddenly realised we need to have a website, and that was the.
Yeah.
So you set up your homepage, and you thought you'd done it.
Yeah.
Then you started to realise that you needed maybe something interactive on your website. Then social media started to explode, and then some people. Is it fair to say some people are trying to do a little bit of everything and perhaps not quite sure why?
Well, there is where the challenge lies. I think a lot of people have jumped into the pool, so to speak, and have given it a try, and are sort of pulling back from a bit of the social media because there's a strategy to doing social media. It's a very low cost because it's free to do if you do it yourself. But where the problem comes in is if you don't strategize with your marketing, you can spend a lot of time reaching out but not getting to your target market.
And people use the word marketing, don't they, very broadly, sometimes without actually understanding what marketing is. Is it advertising? Is it PR? Is it a broader strategy than that? You know, if you've got a company set in front of you and you're talking to them, how do you explain marketing to them?
Well, the internet marketing, funny enough, comes more out of the networking side of what businesses have been used to doing. It is not so much pushing the message, although you do push the message, but the social media is about building relationships. It's about finding your target audience and finding out what they are interested in and providing it for them. And whilst you're doing that, obviously you are promoting yourself and your business. And through that link and through that relationship, you find that your customer base grows.
One of the difficulties, isn't it, with marketing is always how you actually assess how successful it's being, isn't it? And some companies, is it fair to say some companies maybe shy away from it because they can't quantify how much it's added to their turnover?
Well, on the contrary, what I would say is that internet marketing has completely revolutionized marketing, because marketing in the old days, based on advertising in the yellow pages, advertising in magazines, was totally unquantifiable. You depended on a salesman to tell you what the publication circulation was, and you relied on that. Today, with internet marketing, you can check and you can track the success of your marketing down to a very finite level. So, on the contrary, you can track. A lot of companies go into it without the expertise on the tracking side. So they spend a lot of time putting out the tweets, doing the post, and sort of hoping. But there are a lot of tracking software out there that you can track exactly how successful your marketing campaign is.
And does internet marketing work better for some sectors of business than others?
It does work better for some sectors, but again, it's down to the strategy. It's what we tend to ask businesses is, how have you traditionally got your market or got your client? And if we can build a strategy that speaks in the correct voice to the right target, then we will get the success that we're looking for. But it is undoubted that there are some consumers in some sectors who are on the internet more than in other sectors. So there is a level of performance that you get depending on the sector you're in.
What would be your top tip to a business that's maybe just starting to dip their toe into serious internet marketing? What should they look for, or what should they avoid?
Well, the top tip I would say to a company who's going into internet marketing is to understand what you're trying to achieve by entering into internet marketing. Are you trying to get more customers? Are you trying to promote your business? Are you trying to communicate a story? If you can understand the strategy that you're trying to achieve, then you will spend less money and get better results than if you don't.
Anything particular that they should not do, that maybe a lot of companies do?
Well, one of the things I would say a lot, the spamming at people is something that the internet allows you to do, whether it's email marketing, whether it's Twitter. If you over-promote either yourself, your company, your products, then you tend to lose your audience.
Thank you very much for coming in and talking to us. After the break, find out why West Midlanders just can't get enough of caravan holiday homes by the sea. Welcome back to Midlands Business Update. Now, before I introduce our final guest, let's take a look at some of the latest business headlines. It's been revealed that the parent company of Birmingham City Football Club has received another 2 takeover bids. It takes the number of interested parties in the Championship club to 7. Little is known about the latest 2 bidders, whose interest was revealed in a statement to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. A delegation from the University of Wolverhampton is to visit India, hoping to forge new business links with the region. The 4-day visit, which starts next week, will include stops in Delhi and Rajasthan, meeting government officials, education bosses and business leaders. It follows a similar successful visit to the same area last April. It's been estimated that the Black Country is worth a staggering £20 billion a year to the British economy and is home to more businesses than at any time in the last decade. New figures show that across Wolverhampton, Walsall, Sandwell and Dudley, there are now more than 32,000 active businesses. And the Black Country Local Enterprise Partnership says the area's manufacturing industry is comfortably outperforming the national average. And finally, there was more good investment news for the region this week, with the British Small Animal Veterinary Association announcing plans to bring one of its largest congress events to Birmingham. And it's estimated that that event alone will bring business worth £360 million into the region. Now then, have you been away with the family for the Easter holidays, making the most of the early spring sunshine? I know thousands of us have, but for many, it's nothing more than a home from home. And that's because the number of people owning a caravan holiday home in the countryside or on the coast is growing fast, particularly in the West Midlands. So, what's the big appeal? Is it too costly to travel abroad or simply too good to resist staying at home? The man ideally placed to answer these questions is Mark Bebb of Salop Leisure, whose company not only sells mobile homes but also owns a string of holiday parks. Now, Mark, I trek along to Barmouth on the Welsh coast quite regularly, and I've heard it described as Midlands on sea quite a few times. What's the big appeal for people from this region?
Well, I think the big thing is it's about escapism. You know, we all work really hard, and I think since the recession we're probably working harder than ever. And you know, we want to get away at a weekend or for a week's holiday, and you go to an environment which adds something that you haven't got perhaps at home.
And of course, with us being a landlocked part of Britain, there's still that fascination with being out open water at the seaside. But I mean, figures show that the industry that you're working in has grown far more quickly than other parts of the tourism industry. Why do you think that is?
I think we've been doing a better job as an industry promoting it. I think that's maybe something as well. But I think that generally we had a great summer last year, and obviously weather's a big thing in the UK. If we could guarantee the weather and it only rained from 10 o'clock at night until 4 o'clock in the morning, I think we'd do even more in the UK with domestic tourism. But unfortunately we haven't quite bottled that secret yet. People for many years have had a tourism route, like a historic tourism route for the Midlands to the Welsh coast and Mid Wales inland. You know, you get there, you leave your worries behind, you pursue your activities. Now that can be everything from having a pint or cycling, walking, and activity-based holidays.
And there's no doubt that it's a lifestyle choice for a family, isn't it? Without a doubt, you know, it's one of these things, a habit that's passed down through the generations. But is it fair to say that sort of got lost a little bit in maybe the 1990s?
Yeah, I think maybe so to an extent. I think that realistically, younger people now obviously finding it harder to save for deposits for houses. So obviously it's a luxury purchase. But what we found instead is we've got grandparents now that are buying caravan holiday homes, motorhomes and touring caravans, and they're allowing the generations to actually use the product. So I suppose if you've worked hard all your life, you've saved hard all your life, so you buy yourself a holiday home or a lodge. And part of the kind of reasoning for that is you're helping your children, your grandchildren. And of course, a lot of people, they work really hard while they're within their working years. They kind of almost slightly ignore their children. So when you have grandchildren come along, you kind of put right what you did wrong the first time. And I think that's what my parents think anyway, maybe. We've got a caravan, and some of the memories that I have as a child, my mother and father worked really hard. I'm sure most people do, but I barely remember anything when I'm young. My memory's full. But when I went to Harlech, in this case, we used to go in a touring caravan year in, year out. It was a park that the company owned. My dad used to work for them. He was an engineer. And with my brothers, we used to go down to the beach, go up Snowdon, and like special times I still remember. And I do the same thing now with my children. I've got an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. The 15-year-old thinks he can beat me to the top of Snowdon, which he can't.
Yet.
Not yet, no, absolutely yet. And the 11-year-old, I take him to the same rock pools. And there's something really wholesome about that. When I'm at home, we're all in different rooms. The kids are on the internet. I might be cooking, or my wife might be cooking. She'd think that, and we just don't spend much time as a family together.
And I know that anyone who's travelled down to the Welsh coast during the Easter holidays and queued on the M54 or the A5 or whatever will have an idea of just how many people are making that journey out to the Welsh coast from this area now. And I mean, you've got some statistics, haven't you, that give an idea of just how big an industry this is now?
Well, it's huge. We supply to about 150 caravan parks in mid Wales. So it's not north, it's not south. But I went to a conference recently, and some of the figures are unbelievable. £6.3 billion going into the Welsh economy from tourism. Now, you would question how big the caravan industry is in terms of that kind of sector. But if you think about the areas of Wales where there aren't many big hotels. There's lots of B&Bs. But obviously, we deal with in excess of 200 caravan parks, of which the average number of pitches is in excess of 150. So you've got 150 times an average number of beds of 6. So if you do the maths on that, it means you've got loads of big hotels. So the caravanning industry is a huge part of that 6.3 billion. And that's 13.2% of GDP in Wales. It's a lot higher in Wales than it is in the UK because there's less industry.
And it's also a lot higher from the Midlands compared to other parts of the country in terms of the number of people who are taking that kind of holiday.
I would say that 80% of the consumers that we sell to, and we sell thousands of motorhomes, touring caravans and holiday homes, are from the Midlands.
Is there a typical type of customer?
Absolutely not. It's amazing. We've tried really hard. We've spent money researching our customer base. So we can try and target our marketing a bit more. But we sell from everybody. Somebody may be valeting, to a judge, some famous footballers, some football chairmen of some quite big clubs. And I think that the difference is people aspire perhaps to own a second home. It's something perhaps maybe on your bucket list, your wish list, and the beauty of it, not only is it considerably cheaper and more affordable, but also you've got no security worries, you've got no maintenance worries. People go down and they do what they want. So they do relax and they do go cycling or they go fishing or whatever the thing is.
And so if someone is thinking, this sounds quite good, quite like the sound of this, it's cheaper than buying some second home cottage on the coast. In ballpark terms, what's the sort of price range that you'd be looking at for a family to own?
There's two costs. We sell touring caravans from about £3,000. So and we also hire, so you can hire products for a week's use to try and see if you like it before you buy one. But I think that you're from 3,000, and the most expensive one I think we sold last year was about £130,000, which was like a lodge, it's made out of timber. It looks like a Canadian type of product, and there's everything in between that as well. It's not just the money that people invest, it's also the time that they invest. People are very short of time now, so really as an industry and as a product, we've had to become very convenient to stay in touch with our consumers, really.
That's one of the big things, that's one of the big appeals from our region, isn't it? We're an hour and a half from less than that. From somewhere very sunny and fantastic beaches.
Well, it's not always sunny, but
it's always sunny in Wales.
Absolutely,
it's always
sunny
in Wales.
And Shropshire and the Cotswolds, we deal all in down that area as well.
I always think, when I'm talking cinemas, as I do sometimes, a cinema is reliant completely on whether a distributor is producing great films, so it's sort of out of their control. And in your business, you're sort of reliant on the weather, aren't you, as to whether you have a successful year or not?
Weather's got some influence, not as much as you think, actually, because ultimately it depends on what your hobby is. And if it's based around a hobby and your hobby is sunbathing, then obviously that's got a major influence. But a lot of people, it is genuinely getting away from your bricks and mortar home, which is nothing but work at a weekend. Because ultimately you've still got the ironing, you've got the garden to do, you've got all these things to do. Whereas if you go into the heart of England or Wales, into your caravan holiday home, you've actually got very little to do apart from enjoy yourself. And you spend time with your children or your grandchildren. Because at home, literally, if I'm at home, in fact this weekend, I'm going to have to garden all weekend. I will barely see my children apart from to growl at them to come and help me do a bit more, which they probably won't bother doing.
Gravel and decking like I've
That's
got,
right,
that's what
yeah.
you need. Now, of course, the other thing we haven't touched on really is it's not just people that are owning or renting holiday homes. There are a lot of black country families who've made it their lifestyle to help manage or run these
Absolutely.
sites for you. What does that involve? I mean, that sounds like a fantastic job.
Well, it's like every job. We only tell people about the good bits, but it's everything really. Basically, a lot of it is about enjoyment of people, customer satisfaction. The other skills that we would say that you would need is you need to enjoy being outside mowing grass, because grass tends to grow. So that we, to keep, our parks are all 5-star, so the pristine environments, and it goes from everything from from 1-star parks to 5. The majority, I would say, are from 3 to 5. And so you've got to be able to keep, really manicured grounds. It really love people and enjoy people. But it's as diverse as having to rod a drain when the sewers get blocked as well. So it's a pretty broad thing. The good thing is, every day is different.
That's the bit they don't tell you in the brochure, isn't it?
We don't
Rodding
tell you
drains.
that.
Very quickly, then, final question. Biggest challenge for your company and the industry in the coming year?
I suppose the biggest challenge really is getting younger generations to understand that, it's a really good opportunity and something you can choose. We're in competition against cruising, foreign holidays, and how people spend their money, and that's the big thing really for us.
Brilliant. Mark, good luck. Thank you for coming in and having a chat to us on
Pleasure.
Big Centre. That's all we've got time for on Midlands Business Update this week. Very quickly, if you are a shareholder, you'll be pleased to see another surge in the FTSE 100 index, which broke back through the 7,000 barrier on Thursday, began Friday nearly 80 points up at 7,015. We'll see you again soon.